Hi there, I'm Lori Jinkins. I'm a state representative from the 27th Legislative District, which is in Tacoma, the north end of Tacoma, the west end, the east side, the northeast part of Tacoma, downtown, the hilltop, really a lot of the great parts of the city. I'm happy to be updating you this week about what's been happening in Olympia. Probably the biggest news has to do with our caseload forecasts and the revenue forecasts. The caseload forecast is the forecast which tells us, for example, how many kids are enrolled in our K-12 system, Medicaid, people who are on Medicaid and healthcare services, things like that. What we've seen is that our numbers are down, which mean on those caseloads, which means that we're able to kind of accumulate some more money or not be spending so much money to support some of our K-12 system because there aren't as many students in it, and same on healthcare and some other areas. So that's good in one respect. The thing that's very difficult about it is, especially as we look at healthcare benefits and supporting some of our poorest families, the reasons our caseloads are down is because we've made much stricter requirements about who we can really help because we've been in such a tight budget situation. So there's good news and bad news with that. Secondly, we've had our revenue forecast come out, and the revenue forecast is basically flat. I do want to kind of quote the chair of our Ways and Means Committee here in Olympia, Ross Hunter, in which he kind of kiddingly told us that flat is the new up. We've had 13 or 14 consecutive revenue forecasts that have been down, that have showed that the revenue that we're generating in the state is going down, down, down. So this is the first one in a long while where we're even. We're actually up about $50 million. So we'll be adding that into how we're working through our budget in the next few weeks here. So that was, I think, really good news for us in terms of the revenue forecast. One of the other things I spent time doing this week was talking to one of my colleagues, Zach Hudgens, who's a representative from the 11th Legislative District. And he likes to sit down and just interview folks and have a conversation with them. So the next thing you're going to see is actually the interview time that I spent with Zach talking about issues of his choosing. So please take a look and enjoy. And as always, if there's something that you're interested in speaking with me about, call my office or send me an email. I'd love to talk with you. Thanks a lot.
Hi, I'm Zach Hudgens from the 11th Legislative District. Today, I'm here with Representative Lori Jinkins from the 27th Legislative District. Thanks for joining me today, Lori.
Thanks for having me, Zach.
So I first ran for office because I wanted to help create jobs down in Olympia. I was upset at the way the economy was going. Why did you first run for office?
You know, I just got motivated to do it. I was very concerned about the budget situation that our state was in and felt like we needed to try and get more long-term thinking and more long-term solutions, because this is going to be a problem that we are involved in for a really long time if we don't do that.
Tell me about your district.
Yeah, mine is a pretty urban district, but it also has that industrial side to it. So I represent a big part of Tacoma, the north end, the west side, the east side, the downtown, the hilltop, the port of Tacoma, and northeast Tacoma. And northeast Tacoma is actually a little bit suburban, somewhat like yours. So it's an urban district with a lot of diversity in it.
In my district, it gives me the opportunity to sort of talk about whatever issues are down in Olympia. I can find them back home, whether they're labor issues or business issues or environmental or things that appeal to suburban voters. It seems like everything we do has some application back home. Is that the case?
Oh, it's so true. And even things, you know, I sit on 4 committees, and so I hear a lot of testimony about a lot of different bills, and I'm always seeing constituents come and testify. But there are so many bills that go through that I don't know very much about, but let me tell you, my constituents tell me about them. The diversity is really amazing.
So what do you do when you're not in Olympia? I mean, we're supposed to be part-time legislators.
Yeah,
but
I really am. I serve as the deputy director of the Tacoma-Pierce County Health Department. So I run the day-to-day operations of the health department, and they are nice enough to, I have a co-worker who fills in my shoes when I'm gone. But it does mean that public health and public health issues are very important to me. I've worked in public health for almost 20 years now. And it's great to have that kind of community link. I actually like having another job. It's pretty stressful to try and juggle these 2 jobs, but it's good in a lot of ways to understand what it's like to be, for other people too, to be struggling to balance work, home, jobs, all that kind of stuff.
So what other issues? I know you do a lot with health, but what other issues are you working on this year?
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the bigger ones that I've worked on, which is done now legislatively, has been marriage equality. Been a very important issue, and I've kind
So
of.
tell me why that's important to you.
Well, my partner and I just celebrated our 23rd anniversary, and she and I have an 11-year-old son, so that it's important personally. I think I have a lot of constituents in the district that this is important to, and it's very interesting because the younger people in my district, whether or not they're gay or lesbian, this is a primary issue for them, this issue of marriage equality and making sure that everyone has the ability to be married. And for our 11-year-old son, it's kind of amazing how affected and he has been by it and how important it is to him.
I've met him. It's great seeing him down, seeing the process for the first time. And you're new in the legislature. Do you have any thoughts on what you expected or didn't expect, or how things work down here, or maybe how they don't work?
Actually, the thing that was most surprising to me my first year was how helpful everybody was.
I don't know if that's a good thing or not. Everybody has a reputation for not being very nice.
Well, it was, members of the Senate, members of the House on both sides of the aisle tried to help me, get my bills through and move forward. And I wasn't quite prepared for that level of helpfulness. I guess I kind of came to understand that everybody who's down here, if they're going to make an investment in you, they want you to come back. They don't want to spend time trying to teach you the ropes and stuff and then not have you come back. So I think that's been a great lesson. I think I've also learned a lot of lessons on kind of compromise. And actually, the freshman class and I just had a great lesson in this. We had a bill last year to close a big tax loophole. And to fund education with that, and we didn't have bipartisan support. We didn't have a 2/3 majority that would vote it off the House floor. But this year, we've heard from the Republicans just in the last couple days that they are now supporting the idea, and it looks like we'll have a 2/3 vote off the floor to close this big banks tax loophole and help us in our budget situation.
That's one of the things I've learned is that as you work an issue more and more, not only does the public learn about it, but members of the legislature learn about the issue a little bit. They see the merits, and you build majorities. And so sometimes it takes many years for something to get passed, but you can bring people along that were formerly opposed to it.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Zach. That's been a huge lesson. I always used to, when I would come down here and meet with folks, and they'd be like, well, we'll just have to do that next year. We've made some progress. I'd always go home disappointed. And now I see that as long as you keep on making progress, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. And having bipartisan support of stuff is always better than not. So that's been a great lesson.
Great. Well, thank you very much for dropping by today.
Thanks for having me, Zach.
See you on the floor.
All right.